Welcome everyone to virtual episode number 10 and the last of 2020. With us sitting down, we have a very special guest on location here at Checkerspot Brewing, Dr. Judy Neff, who is just a wonderful beer advocate, cicerone, brewer, and owner right here at Checkerspot. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on by.
So as always, we have 6 fantastic beers that we picked. Hard to find in stores, but easy to find in our vault of beers upstairs at Max's. First off, we got the Brewery Terreux. It's going to be a nice fruited sour with a little bit of Brett. So cheers on the first one.
Yeah, all right.
Always like to pick the first one as like wake up. Make sure you're paying attention. That is
Yeah, they make some really nice sour beers.
Yeah, yeah. So let's delve into how you got into the brewery industry. I'd imagine your love of beer came way before your road to a PhD in microbiology. How, when, if at all, did they intersect?
Yeah, so I actually started homebrewing just after I started my PhD at Hopkins School of Public Health. And it was actually after a trip to Anchor Brewing in San Francisco. A lot of my family lives out on the West Coast. So we were just out there, and it's just fun to go on a brewery tour. Went on the tour, and I came home and decided I wanted to brew beer. So headed on down to Maryland Homebrew, and Chris Anderson, who now owns the joint, she hooked me up with just a basic starter kit, the little bucket, and everything's plastic, and you have your little recipe kit that you just sort of pour into boiling water. And I was so proud of my first beer, which I tried to make an Anchor Steam clone, which knowing what I know now is probably not the best like first beer to ever make. Just you're supposed to ferment it at cooler temperatures and all that. But it didn't matter. It tasted good, and it was a lot cheaper than Anchor Steam.
Right.
And I was poor. I was in graduate school, so that was pretty good. So I loved it at first, and just sort of kept on doing it, and went from that sort of basic system to just more and more complicated or sort of complex systems where you're allowed to start working more directly with the grains.
Right.
And went from a crazy passion of brewing all the time. At one point, I had 8 taps down in my basement. Our basement.
Of beers that you made.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, even had a nitro tap.
It's better than some of the local pubs around here.
Yeah, still went to Max's all the time. Though.
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But cool. Sort of got started there, and then sort of went from hobby to insane passion to my whole life.
Here we are, right? And you met your husband in over beers, essentially. Over the love of beer.
Yeah.
I met my wife over beers too.
Yeah. So. we were drinking beer. I'll put it that. Yeah.
Right. But your passion for beer has brought you to a place where you would like to serve the masses, and for lack of a better example, beer is kind of what brings us together.
Yeah.
And you want to serve to the masses. That's fantastic. As always, we have 6 great beers. Like I said, I usually start from the top left, which was the Brewery, moving straight on to the right with the Brewery wheat wine. Never had that before,
it's
actually.
Only 14%.
Only 14. We're just doing a little nipper. Super sweet.
Oh, barrel aged, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then on from the brewery, we've we have a beer community. Can you talk more about the Pink Boots Society and your involvement?
Yeah, so I actually one of the co-founders of Baltimore Beer Babes, along with some other wonderful beer babes.
Yeah, know all of them,
yeah. And so we started it up, I want to say 12? Yeah, 2012.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we're on year number 8. So it's been very cool. Lots happened, with women in beer since then. From our smaller group to start, and just it sort of steamrolled, and
sure.
And we always have a good group of beer babes who come to most of the events, but then a whole bunch of new people who show up each time. So there's always, at least a few new people. But yeah, so that actually started as a sort of subgroup of, it's called the Barley's Angels, which was a subgroup of Pink Boots. So Pink Boots started out and is a very sort of professional focus group. So it's women in craft beer, but who work in craft beer. And so it's much more like a career focus type group versus the Barley's Angels and, what Baltimore Beer Babes was, a couple women homebrewed, but most of them didn't brew. It was women who really enjoyed craft beer, wanted to learn more about craft beer. So definitely the educational component, the camaraderie component. So that's been very cool. And we actually had our first meeting at Max's.
That's awesome. Yep. It comes full circle. And to be completely transparent, in all honesty, it's a very small minority that kind of just got together with like ideas and shared some great thoughts between, over pints, and then just kind of evolved. And I like the mantra, it's assist, encourage, inspire, and then just to kind of bring the community together. And what are some of the great projects that Pink Boots Society have done? Yeah, and so then with Pink Boots Society, so I have been a member for a while, and they actually have a bunch of scholarships that they offered. Oh, that's awesome. So before opening up Checkerspot, so it's sort of the first stages of trying to, how do you get together a business plan, and financial statements, and what are things you need to think about with not just the brewery side, but like a lawyer side or accounting side, like all these aspects of running a business that are specific also to running a brewery. And so Pink Boots offered put out a scholarship that I ended up getting, and it was a 1-week course at Oregon State University. Oh, yeah. About how to start a brewery. Right. So each day was different things, and it was amazing. So they covered the course and room and board, and it was such a great experience that I definitely wouldn't have been able to afford to do, as I'm even just as this idea is in infancy. But they have a lot of really fantastic opportunities out there for women in craft beer and trying to get more women in craft beer. I've gotten to see some of the things that they've offered. They've offered everything from just like the nuts and bolts of running a business to administratively, like, setting up payroll and that kind of thing, but more importantly, building your brewery to a point where it works for your style and what your approach of what you'd like to do. That's really cool. And that's, to learn from somewhere like Oregon or Boston, which is like beer centric, that says a lot. And then Baltimore Beer Babes, were kind of inspired to. Can you talk more about the mission with that one? Yeah, so that one really is, it's sort of getting women educated and appreciating craft beer. So a lot of the women who started coming, you have some that did know a fair amount about craft beer and just really, really loved it, but some that were just getting into it and didn't really know much about it, but we're trying these really new cool beers. And we used to joke around. My dream was that I want to walk into Max's and see a couple together and have the girl turn into the guy and say, you know what you'd like? You'd like a Belgian triple. You like that style. You just trust me. You'd like this one. And I gotta say, I see that like very regularly now. Actually, pre-pandemic, I was just gonna say, like, I've seen like, actually maybe you'll like this. Like, if you don't like sours, try this. It's kind of a gateway into it. Like, and I'm just like, preach, girl. That's awesome. Yeah. No, women are really know what they're talking about now. It's even through beer bays, like it's just night and day. I think the general public is becoming more knowledgeable about craft beer, but even when I started with my homebrew club, Crabs, which is awesome, Crabs. We always met at Heavy Seas Brewery, and but when I started, the only other woman in it was Chris Anderson. Yes. And for quite a while. Right. And so it is, it's nice to start to have more women and that type of camaraderie in craft beer and something you love. So that's awesome. And then looking at the girls that are involved in the calendar, it's just the who's who of the Baltimore beer scene. We have Chris Anderson, who was, and is like a homebrew. I go to her with questions about growing hops in my own yard and like what things I'd like to do in my kitchen that my wife will let me do. Or, a local bartender is like Alice, who left Mahaffey's and is about to open up Cardinal Tavern. Diana, who was a former bartender at Max's. It's just a who's who. Aaron Tyler, who's just
basically runs Legends.
She's the Mac mama.
She's one of the co-founders.
And
well.
Just any questions that I've ever had about beer, I've asked these ladies, and it's been a fantastic mission and example of leadership.
I got a shout out to Amethyst, who works here since we've opened. She's been very instrumental in taking over a lot of sort of the managing of Baltimore Beer Babes now, just because with, I don't have as much time to do it anymore. And so she's been really instrumental in keeping it going, and she's actually doing a lot to try to bring Pink Boots to a chapter of it to Baltimore.
That's fantastic.
Which is amazing. So
we are sitting in the newly renovated second floor tap room. What can we expect post pandemic? What is the vibe that we have right now?
Yeah, so even pre-pandemic for a little bit, we finished the upstairs at the end of May of last year. So we've sort of been building. We can fit about almost 170 people upstairs. So we do a lot of private events. So we've done everything from, baby showers, birthday parties, rehearsal dinners. There's a wedding venue right across the street.
Right. So after parties.
We get a lot of we've had a groomsman sort of use this as a green room, that type of thing. So it's really nice just to have a private space up here. We have a big bar over there, so it's really secluded, and a bunch of windows sort of overlooking the brewery.
It's very open. I'm glad that it's been raining all day today, and then there's a break in the clouds. It's actually really gorgeous. It's a little cold,
nice.
but it's gorgeous out.
Yeah, you can see the M&T Stadium on one side, and then the actual brew house and brewery on the other side. If
we had weather like we did this past weekend, I would have brought a couple tailgate chairs, and basically you're encouraging, once there's indoor and outdoor dining and everything, for people to just kind of set up shop next door with open
so
covered.
We did that all through, so since everything got shut down, we were carry-out only, and then when Baltimore City reopened for outside seating, our landlord's been fantastic, sort of letting us set up some tables and chairs. We actually were able to get a liquor license for some tables and chairs out in the parking lot, as well as the ones right out front, so that was really cool of the city to sort of help push some things forward that were really urgent and necessary. Right. But above that, this is normally a Ravens tailgate lot. Right. So it's
100,
perfect.
100 yards away, maybe?
Yeah, like catty corner from Lot H at Ravens Stadium. But all summer, the parking lot would be packed, but everyone was spread out, so you could get as far away from people as you wanted. You could bring your own chairs, your own tables. We had kids riding bikes and playing ball, and it was like an urban farm.
Like a park, basically. There's just people just do what they like.
And helping, with it being covered, so it was shaded, covered. You could hang out here in the rain.
Sure. It's because it's almost completely covered.
So that's been. We were really, really lucky to have this space. So it's always been, really lucky to have it for parking. So we basically have unlimited parking for normal time, but with all the outdoor seating, it made a huge, huge difference to not be limited. Like most of the places in the city, you're limited to X number of tables outside. You just don't have that much space outside.
Sure.
Due to it being in a city. That's been amazing.
What do you find is the most important? Super open-ended, but what do you find is the most important part of a beer-centric building, be it a brewery, a tap room, a well-known pub that people gather? What is the most important part that they can give back to the community? We've talked about what we're offering for full families, not just grown adults and such outside. What do you think is? How do you think we can strengthen the community through beer?
Yeah, so we're definitely a meeting space for a lot of different nonprofits. I guess Thread was setting up a table outside to do fingerprinting.
Right.
They had nowhere else to do it during COVID.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, during COVID, before COVID, you know, Girls and Boys Club would always meet upstairs. Obviously, we don't charge them, you know, any of the nonprofits anything to have meetings and
That's awesome.
and things like that. There are even some, you know, religious study groups that have met here. Yeah, tons of nonprofit groups. Barks meets here, does a lot of things here. And we definitely do a lot of fundraisers trying to give back to all the cool places around here, like Tool Bank, and we do a lot of stuff with Barks. But yeah, it's really cool to have it be sort of a central gathering place that people can come and hang out. They have a central place to go, and it makes it more fun for people to come.
Right.
They're not just having a meeting; they're sort of hanging out,
We're kind of right in the middle
having
of
a
everything
beer,
too.
and you know, getting some you know, important things done. But
Sure.
it makes it, I think, more fun for them too.
And unfortunately, we have to address the elephant in the room. Within the past few days, we have, per the mayor, we have no indoor or outdoor dining, which has limited the ability for a lot of local businesses, especially bars, especially breweries with tap rooms that have the room and the resources to house guests and have them sit and spend time, much needed money to local businesses. How have the folks at Checkerspot adapted to this semi-permanent change?
Yeah, it's been really tough just because we have sort of pivoted and figured out outdoor seating where people were extremely socially distant. So it is really frustrating for me to have, you know, properly done outdoor seating shut down, that, you know, we have all these tables and chairs and heaters that people could use to come get a beer, you know, with their small group, and everybody, you know, they sit far apart from each other, and it's outside, and it's perfectly safe. You know, it's one thing we got a lot of comments for the past whole bunch of months is just how safe people felt here. Like we had only opened upstairs at 25% capacity about a week ago.
Okay.
But downstairs, it was 100% mask on. Like at no point downstairs should your mask be off, and it was outside seating, and it was great. We, our bartenders were keeping really busy, barbacks, food runners, our kitchen was able to grow. It was, you know, we were doing really well, and this past weekend, it took a huge toll.
It's
very, very big
obviously,
toll already. We've had to cut back shifts.
Yeah.
Everybody's making significantly less money.
We're 12 days away from Christmas.
Tips.
Yeah,
it's really sad. You know, we are keeping our full-time employees, but you know, people who are working shifts and hourly, you only need to have work. You know, people work for work that needs to be done, and if we're not busy.
Yeah, there's really nothing that
there's nothing,
you know,
not much for them to do, and it's
yeah.
hard. A lot of our bartenders have, you know, maybe have shifts at other restaurants, but they're closed too, and so they're getting sort of double whammy. They don't have a backup of something else to fall back on.
Right. My wife and you went to the same public health school at Johns Hopkins, and it's a very unpopular opinion and an unpopular choice for the mayor to do what he did, and we're not going to go into that. But I will say the vibe that I have and I bring home from the service industry to her, and she has to calm me down, and I understand. It's very important, and you coming from the same thing, and then also being a business owner, so you're dual part. Mm-hmm. You know, from a public health atmosphere and then from a small business atmosphere that is, you know, making their profit in serving guests that are either taking or consuming on premise or off premise. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So
especially we've been doing everything above and beyond to be safe.
Sure.
For our staff.
Yep.
For, you know, people coming in. That I feel like a lot of places are doing that as well. Like really going above and beyond, investing what you needed to, doing the right thing. And yeah, to then not be able to continue doing that, I think is
totally
is tough.
Once again, unpopular opinion, but you know, very
we'll
well.
Make it through.
You know, we'll get through, and you know, on the other side, it's going to be bigger, faster, stronger.
Yep.
you know, kind of mindset. So, well, aside from the pandemic, pre-pandemic, or if the pandemic didn't exist at all, let's talk about a day off in the life of the Neffs. What are we doing? What are we grabbing for out of their fridge? Where are we going? Like, what do we like to do in Baltimore?
Yes, I guess we didn't really have much free time till, you know, partially into the pandemic. So I guess that the answer was just go collapse at home. But no, we have a little dog, so we try to take her different places.
That's
but
awesome.
you know, it's part of why we opened a brewery. One of the things we used to love to do is go around to different breweries
Sure.
and different craft beer bars and just try all these new beers
yeah.
and new things like that. So it has been nice to, you know, we've really tried to make an effort to get back to doing that, and maybe say once every other week or something like that, like we're gonna go somewhere. So we actually went to Waradaka's checked out their 5-year anniversary. They had 5 different collaboration release beers.
A whole bunch of different bottles, like anniversary bottles and stuff. Yeah.
So that was really fun. And then this weekend, that was a couple weeks ago. So then this weekend we're gonna go to Molly's.
Oh, very cool.
Check
very
them
cool.
out. So really trying to get, you know, we've been up to visit Greg at Inverness a bunch.
Yes.
Out to like Hopkins Farm and a bunch of the farm breweries. Sort of when you can't go anywhere, go on vacation, you sort of just want to you need to get out of the city.
And
so the farm breweries are perfect for that. You just
they really
hang
are.
out on the farm, drink some nice beer, and
yeah. About a month ago, we were talking
relax.
to Greg at Manor Hill, and I was like, "How's it going up there?" He's like, "Honestly, like it's a little bit." And this was a month ago.
when it was
worth
nice
of weather.
weather out, yeah.
He's like, we're super busy. Like people are bringing dogs and
Yeah.
kids and running around. And we're outside, and it's like we are like
nobody has anything else to do.
jamming. Yeah, like and you want to be
Yeah.
outside in times like
Yeah.
this. I like Greg's a good friend of mine. I used to work with
Yeah.
him at DeGrowens way back in the day.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you did work back there. You know, we did that Swan
yeah,
Song,
for
the Baltimore Brewing Company,
yep,
bringing all the OGs
yep,
back.
yep. Yeah, right on President Street. Yeah, that's one of my favorite bar jobs of all time. Honestly, that actually was the
I love
pivoting
that
moment
place.
for craft brewing. And I remember when I first started there, Spike, who was the general manager, and he's one of the owners at Key Brewing, who we had as a guest in a past show. He's like, "All right, what do you usually drink?" I was like, "Miller Lite bottles, man." He's like, "All right, we'll get you a case of Miller Lite for the first month, but like we're gonna change your mind." And my eyes were open to traditional German beers. I don't know what a Hefeweizen is or a Doppelbock. Turns out the Doppelbock release party was the night before Thanksgiving, which is the biggest day of the year. And I was like, "This is a fantastic beer." So just opened my eyes to everything. But moving right along, I'm trying some great beers. Like I can't ignore any of these. The Brekerit beer, the sour bourbon is fantastic. And for a bourbon barrel aged sour ale to only be 5.5%, I really enjoy it. It's actually very drinkable. And
Where are they from?
they are from Sweden.
Ah,
Sweden,
okay.
yeah. Also,
Hence the Swedish sour. Gotcha.
yeah. And so like they're the ones that have like the really small bottles that are like really expensive. I'm just
Okay.
like, okay, all right. Surly Brewing, where my wife is from, and in-laws are. I spent a lot of time in St. Paul and the Twin Cities. Surly,
I have been there.
Modest Brewing. Oh man, it's such a great.
They
Fulton.
know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a great. And then they're distilling a lot too. There's a lot of great distilleries as well. But I was really excited to try this double barrel Bible Belt.
That one, the name cracks me up. Do they have a regular Bible Belt?
They
Or
do.
Is that Prairie?
So it's
Prairie
like
Brewing
it's
Company
like
have?
so Evil Twin does all these like releases. They're like even more Jesus and this and that, blah blah blah.
Oh, okay.
And then they paired with Prairie, who does like all the bombs, like the cake bombs and that kind of thing. So like they got together and did this 14% with cocoa nibs, chili peppers, coffee, vanilla. It's like dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, really good.
I like the chili pepper in it.
No, yeah, it's not. It's just a little tickle in the back of the throat. It's
I
really
think
good.
just a little bit's good. But
Yeah, right.
this even might be too much. But.
And then brewed at Westbrook, which I got to visit last year in South Carolina. It was really cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, tell me about your road to your Cicerone exam and that kind of thing. I know there's a crazy exam and a tasting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was, I was getting my beer judge certification, which is very involved. It requires, a lot of studying, a lot of knowing, everything about each style of beer on a technical level, geography, history, and tasting as well. So I was doing that, and the Cicerone program it was pretty new. So I knew I was just getting to know Erin at that point.
Oh, Erin
we had
Fowler. She was one of the first in Maryland to grab
so we
her
had crossed
Cicerone.
paths a little bit, and she told me about it. She had just gotten hers.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think she was the first one in Maryland.
Yes.
And so she was telling me about it. I'm like, this is really cool. Like, it's about time that they have something like this for, it's not just wine. Like, if beer's trying to be serious, and there are these serious styles, that it's real. And there is terroir, and are all these different styles, especially the deep, rich history.
Right.
Mostly in Europe, but there's definitely a place for it.
Right, phosphates in water.
Yeah.
And like how.
I was already studying all this,
right.
and really, really working on this and sort of the beer judging aspect. So I just sort of kept on going and took it on for the Cicerone side. So the Cicerone side also has like a serving component, so sort of a draft system, that type of thing. So I did need to know that, and it was actually good because I did have 8 taps downstairs, and I really knew very little about draft systems. So it just I did what I needed to do to make beer come out of the of the
pinch lines,
nozzle.
all that kind of thing.
Yep. So that was something I should have learned a while ago. So that sort of forced me to.
Where did you take your exam?
I took that one down in North Carolina.
Okay.
My parents live in North Carolina. So I took the beer judge certification test in New Orleans. It was an excuse. They had one. They had one that was closer. And then my parents are down in North Carolina, so figure make a trip out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the last beer of the day is going to be the Juniperus. Let's talk about that for a minute.
You want to go check out the brewery where we actually make Juniperus?
Yeah, let's take one of these beers with us and walk downstairs.
All right. This is Steve, one of the other owners here. They're adding cranberries to our locally delicious, the sour.
Oh, really?
So the next one's going to be 400 pounds of cranberries that were just harvested this past season.
Yeah, it's got local grains from Chesapeake malting and local hops from
This one's Black Logan.
Black Logan.
It changes. Yeah, we work with a lot of local hop farmers, and also with Dark Cloud and Chesapeake Malting, the 2 local maltsters.
That's all part of locally delicious.
Yeah, if you want to come check it out, Ryan is, we have one of those giant immersion blenders, and then immersing it with, basically cranberry beer salsa. This is Ian. Ian's the master in the back. I don't know what I would do without him. He's why I get to do it like that. Yes, if you want to check out my beer, this is Ryan over here. So Ryan works in the back with Ian. You can get a little closer if you want to check out the cranberries. About like 20 pounds of the 400 pounds.
That's about 20 pounds in there.
They've been doing for a while. But yeah, our beer is bubbling along, and this is a new double IPA regular brew house is a 15 barrel system. So these tanks right here are 15 barrels. These are 1 barrel. And then we recently got 2 30-barrel tanks right here.
So these are the more like experimental.
Yep, so when we're trying out new hops, we've been doing some barrel aging things that we then transfer into here to carbonate and bottle or keg. But yeah, so some things like all of our Christmas beers we run in here. I'll be doing, anytime I'm testing out new hops, it'll be great. We like to run them through here first. Directly to our drop line. So they're almost like giant tanks. Juniperus is my favorite beer in the whole world.
Okay. Take a big sip of that one.
I'm very humble. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, this is something I started working on years and years before opening the brewery. So this was always sort of my passion project, was making the IPA with juniper berries. And I started it off almost how you would think. I was going more with those piney hops like Simcoe and Chinook, and but that with the juniper berries, it's just piney. It does not work.
Right.
So I sort of went back at it a different way, which is like, okay, let the juniper berries be sort of replace what would be piney hops. So, when you drink this, you don't think, that must be a juniper berry. Like it's more just a piney part of the whole flavor. And then to sort of help balance that would be, I get a lot of candy flavor out of Idaho 7. I love Idaho 7 hops. And just, yeah, they're probably my favorite hop because of working with them with Juniperus. So it was trying out all the different hops. So that was sort of a big thing, finding the Idaho 7 to balance the juniper berries. There's also Mosaic in there, which is always good. But.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next thing I was working on was the yeast. So I was trying all different sorts of yeasts. This was before New England IPAs were out, so I wasn't working with any of those kind of yeasts. But I was trying, some Irish ale yeast, or something that just might not be as that clean. It's called California 05. It's this just generic flat. Like to me, it just tends to be very flat.
Yeah.
And that was one of my problems I was having with it. It was just too flat. It was good, but it wasn't great. So Omega, I was messing around with different yeasts. Omega Labs, which is where we get most of our yeast, they had this new hothead yeast. So it was before anybody was talking about like Kvike yeast, but it is a Kvike yeast. But it was before these Norwegian strains were becoming popular. I didn't know anything about it. I thought the name sounded cool.
So with rookies watching or people that don't know much about beer, when we say like Viking yeast, it tends to we use that yeast, and when we pitch it, it ferments at a much faster rate.
So it can take very high fermentation temperatures. So it's actually very happy at high fermentation temperatures, which most yeasts produce a lot of off flavors.
Right.
So they're these Norwegian farm strains that they've found. Pretty crazy, but yeah, they're called Kvike yeasts. So the hothead strain is one of these. And so, again, I knew nothing about that. I was just trying different yeasts. I would do 5 gallons at a time, and then tried this one. It was like, yes, this is the one. It helps give a little more like fruity candy.
Right.
It helps bring all that out as well.
Like almost like a Belgian kind of characteristic to it, like a little more fruity, less clean, less.
Yeah, but none of the like spices or phenol.
No coriander,
Yeah.
Got it.
I just feel it gives that perception of sort of a sweeter, juicier flavor without it being sweet.
Sure,
It just,
sure.
it gives it that sort of juicier flavor.
Excellent.
But not like in the New England style.
Right, not
it's
in,
hard,
like,
yeah,
the
it's hard to
giant, juicy,
explain,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like this beer really has it all. It has like it appeases like the OG West Coast, a little bit of hop bitterness, a little bit of fruitiness, very well rounded. And with that, I'll raise the last beer of the day. Meeting folks like you guys and just enjoying beer as a labor of love has inspired me to be a Cicerone. A couple days ago is my 2-year anniversary of passing the Cicerone exam.
Nice.
I'm super excited, and thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Here's to 10 million more great beers, a full tap room post-COVID, and many more 5-ounce pours. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us this week. If you'd like to re-up on any of the beers that were offered today, visit shop.max's.com. Be safe out there. This is our last for 2020. Please join us in 2021. We got some great guests. Shop local, be safe, and as always, drink dope beer and say thank you.